So this video is probably not going to be popular with a lot of people, and I'm going to start off by saying terrible things happen all the time, and I'm sorry when something like this does happen, and I'm sorry that this happened, but I'm, as usual, tired of hearing video games being blamed for some terrible event that had nothing to do with video games, really. This specifically is in relation to a 15-year-old kid named Brandon Crisp, who was just found dead after missing for 23 days. He ran away on October 13th because he got into an argument with his parents after they took away his Xbox 360. Apparently, they felt he was playing Call of Duty 4 excessively, and they said he was addicted to the game and it was affecting his school and social life. That's from the article, one of the articles. And afterwards, he threatened to run away, and the dad, again, I'm going to read from two different articles. Parents blame video game addiction as the dispute stemmed from taking away his Xbox 360, despite the fact that when the child began to leave his house, the father scolded him and told him to pack warm clothes. From another article, when he said he was going to run away on Thanksgiving Monday, his father helped him pack his knapsack and let him leave, assuming, he said, that Brandon would be back hours later, or at worst, the next day. So, a few things beg the question here. First of all, at what point, after helping your kid pack or letting your kid walk out the door in the middle of a cold October night, do you decide it's probably a good idea to call the police? Do you just let your 15-year-old boy walk out into the night and not say anything? It makes no sense to me, at least. And then at what point do you accept responsibility for letting your kid walk off? I'm going to run away. Okay, run away. Help you pack your bags. I'll send you out the door. I don't understand what kind of message anyone thinks that would send their kid. Were it me, and I was a 15-year-old strong-willed kid who was mad at his parents, and my dad said, fine, here, I'll help you pack, or fine, pack warm clothes, get out, and I left, I would be encouraged at that point to stay gone, to prove my point. This is just a battle of stubbornness. A kid who feels hurt and angry, and a parent who is trying to prove his point by letting the kid walk out the door. The difference is the parent should be responsible enough to know better. And that lack of communication got his kid killed. Maybe that's horrible of me to say, but I fully and completely blame the parents in this situation. And I don't blame Call of Duty 4, and I don't blame the Xbox 360. And I don't blame Microsoft, who put up like $40,000 in reward money to help try to find the kid. It's just ridiculous to, out of some sense of pride, call your kid's bluff and send them walking out the door. It was irresponsible, it was negligent, and honestly, I can't believe that the parents don't, well, I guess what happened is enough punishment for them. So I'm not going to say I wish anything happened to them, because what happened, I'm sure, is worse than anything that a court system could do to them for letting it happen. Here's the thing, though. Why blame video games? That argument could have just as easily been over a cell phone, or anything else for that matter. I've seen this article posted a few times today, Xbox 360 addiction and all this, and the console itself is irrelevant. It could have been a PS3 or a Wii or a Super Nintendo or a Genesis. It could have been anything. And video games are just as irrelevant, because it could have been a telephone, it could have been anything. It could have been anything. Kids get ticked off and threaten to run away all the time. The responsible parents tell them no. The responsible parents talk with them. The responsible parents keep them from trying. That lack of communication is evident in this situation. That lack of an empathetic and interpersonal parent-to-child relationship is apparent here. And I can understand that these things happen, and I can understand that tragedies happen, and maybe no one's at fault. But when you start casting blame, when you start picking scapegoats because you were incompetent, then that's just plain wrong. And maybe it's not fully the parents. The parents have said it, so yeah, they're part of it. But the media is to blame also. They love to tag that video game stigma on everything. You know, a kid shoots another kid when they're playing God of War, and all of a sudden God of War got a kid killed even though there's no guns in the game. A kid is sexually abused by his family, and when he kills his dad and his stepmom and his stepsister, they blame GTA, and they never mention the fact that he was abused. And this is just another case where parents don't want to accept that responsibility for what happened. No one does. And that's a real lame cop-out. So, some little things that I looked up. The runaways in America, between 1.3 and 2.8 million runaway and homeless youths live on the streets of America each year. Every year, about 800,000 children in the United States are reported missing, and another estimated 500,000 go missing without being reported. Significant lack of family communication is the main source, the main reason I found for runaways. I found also feelings of not belonging, physical and sexual abuse, fighting or violence between parents, problems with parents, blended families, problems with non-parental living situations, alcohol or drug abuse, loss of parent due to divorce or death, friendship and peer influence. Now, I'm not saying any of that has anything to do with why Brandon Crisp ran away, but I will say that video games aren't listed as a cause anywhere I looked. That's got to be significant in some way or another. And they haven't done or completed, I guess, the autopsy, so we'll find out how he died. My assumption is just that he went out into the woods and maybe tried to fall asleep and got too cold, or maybe he fell down and hit his head. It could have been anything. I hope it wasn't anything nefarious. I would hate to think that something bad happened to that kid. I mean, outside of what did happen, but something worse still. It's awful to think of something like that happening, but that's really all I have to say on the subject. When it comes right down to it, I think the parents are to blame for this, and I think rather than slapping the video game label on headlines, they should be slapping the negligent parent headline, and maybe then people will learn to accept the responsibility rather than just passing the buck. And that's all I have to say about it, so I'm done.